Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, two horses were rescued from a mud pit in Arizona.
Tony Kornheiser, mud pit? Isn't that where you wrestle? The mud pit?
You know, I never believe these opening items because stuff like something betrays it. Mud. There's no mud in Arizona. You got to have standing water. We don't have standing water. That's somewhere else,
Right.
South Carolina. That's the mid-Atlantic. We got desert and golf courses. That's what we got.
And in the golf courses, you have green grass because you bring in the water to make sure you have the green grass, hence the ability to have a mud pit. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Knicks lose, Dalton Varsho makes a remarkable catch, and Kendrick Perkins joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with the Indiana Pacers, eliminating the Milwaukee Bucks from the playoffs last night. Tyrese Halliburton won the game in overtime with a layup after Milwaukee fumbled away a 7-point lead with 40 seconds to play. The Bucks have now lost 3 consecutive first-round playoff series. Wilbon, what happens to the Bucks now?
Oh, Tony, it's like the Bucks we've known now for the last 5 years plus, but certainly the last 5. They won a championship in 21, centered around Giannis Antetokounmpo. That team goes away. I know they added Dame Lillard. They've been slightly different iterations. Added, Doc Rivers, who replaced the coach, Still, it's been around Giannis. It's been Giannis's team. They've been formidable. They've had injuries in the playoffs that knocked out Giannis for a while and Middleton for a while and now Dame Lillard. Tone, it's not working. And I sat there last night feeling for them, feeling for the Bucks because I wanted to see more of the Bucks, more of that series. That series was so bizarre that even at the end, Giannis, who, was a pretty darn good defensive player, couldn't stay in front of Halliburton. And then you have the aftermath of this game, and the aftermath is first John Halliburton, Tyrese's father, who we could get to, who I would like suspend from some playoff games for a while, his attendance. I would. I doubt the league will do anything. But, Tony, then you get to Giannis. Where's he going to be? Is he going to be in Milwaukee with a team that has no first-round draft picks for 100 years, no way of getting better, a really old roster, and Dame hurt? I don't see that, and so I feel bad. As a son of the Midwest and a neighbor of Milwaukee my whole life, I feel bad for the organization and the city and the people. I do.
Okay, I have no idea where the Bucks go from here. The Dame Lillard trade did not work out at all. They continued to lose playoff series in the first round. Then he gets hurt. He will probably miss all of next year. He will come back at 36 years old. That's too late. They fired a coach who won an NBA championship. They replaced him with a guy who they fired in 43 more games. They replaced him with Doc Rivers, who was our friend. Doc Rivers now 0-6 in road playoff games in Milwaukee, and they're probably going to fire him. So this brings you to Giannis. I would not trade Giannis. I could not get equal value unless I go straight up for Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid is healthy. But Giannis could say, I want out of here. He could pull a Jimmy Butler. I just want to go to Tyrese Halliburton for a second here. Because it's current to say that Tyrese Halliburton is the most overrated player in the NBA. Anybody who says that, do you watch that game last night? Because at the end of regulation, time and time again, and at the end of overtime, he took the ball, he went around and through every single Milwaukee defender 4 or 5 different times. That guy was terrific in this series. And, as a son of the Midwest, you ought to be happy for Indiana, actually.
Tony, I am. And I really like Tyrese Halliburton. I know his dad, John, a little bit. What is he doing? And by the way, players voted Tyrese Halliburton the most overrated player in the league. Right. Not the media, not the fans. Players did it. They look bad today.
Did they watch last night?
They look bad.
Yeah, they watched last night? Huh.
Yeah, they should be. And I am happy for and Rick Carlisle, who you and I both have known for forever, since he was a college player. Yeah. Let's move to last night's other 2 games. The Pistons avoided elimination by squeaking by the Knicks in New York. Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart watched most of the last 2 minutes from the sideline after Tom Thibodeau elected not to burn a timeout or foul, they had one to give, to get those guys back onto the floor. And the Nuggets rolled over the Clippers in Denver behind 43 from Jamal Murray. Tone, which team's 3-2 lead feels safer right now? the Knicks or the Nuggets.
Right. So I'm going to be accused of recency bias because the Nuggets won last night and the Knicks lost. But you will remember, Mike, in a segment we did for Sports Center yesterday, the question was which team that's down 3-1 has the best chance of getting back in? And you know that I said the Detroit Pistons because you were aghast that I said the Detroit Pistons. And I said it because all those games are close. 4 of the 5 games now have been decided by 6 points or fewer. Detroit won by 6, the Knicks won by 2, the Knicks won by 1, Detroit won by 3. You know, and there's one game that could have gone the other way. There was no foul called at the end of the game. If they call that foul active shooting, the Pistons are going to win that game off. The Knicks are not going to be up 3-2. But with justification, Detroit is going to be up 3-2. That's why the Knicks lead is not safe. Is the Denver lead safe? Not really, because at one point, the Clippers beat Denver by 34 points in a game. But Denver had the miracle win in Game 4 in L.A. on the Aaron Gordon dunk right at the end. And they backed it up last night. They won that game. They backed that up. So is their lead safe? No. But, Mike, it is safer than New York's lead.
Tony, I don't think either one is all that safe because I think both these are going 7 now. I don't see Detroit losing again at home in Game 6. I see Detroit winning that game and forcing the Knicks to win this at home on the floor in the Garden. I can see. I had the Knicks in 7, and that's what it looks like it's going. And the other thing is the Clippers. The Clippers now, as opposed to when they were playing in Staples in the borrowed Lakers facility, the Intuit place that Steve Ballmer built, that's a real home court advantage. And they're going to play well, and Kawhi Leonard is healthy, and James Harden is engaged. I know he even tried to take on defensive responsibilities against Joker for a while last night. I see the Clippers winning here in Los Angeles tomorrow night and forcing that back to a Game 7 as well. So I don't see either of those. And you know, once you get to a Game 7, weird stuff can happen. And kudos to Russell Westbrook for coming off the bench last night, having a flashback performance. Tony, I'll give you credit for the Detroit part of this, but I think both those leads are still tenuous.
2 things have to happen. Jalen Brunson, who we both think is great, has to shoot better than 4 of 16. That is not acceptable.
He's not having a second bad game. He'll be out there.
Your boy Tibbs has to get Jalen Brunson and Hart off the bench for 2 minutes when the Pistons outscore them 6-2 at that moment. Let's move to hockey, where there were 4 playoff games last night. Carolina beat New Jersey in double overtime to win that series 4-1. Las Vegas beat Minnesota in overtime after a late Minnesota goal was waved off. Vegas has a 3-2 lead in that series. Edmonton got another comeback win over Los Angeles to take a 3-2 lead in that series. And Toronto was blanked at home 4-0 by Ottawa. Toronto still leads that series 3-2, but will go on the road for Game 6. Wilbon, what was the most compelling result from last night?
Well, I might be tempted to say Toronto because that was sort of a real surprise. But the most compelling game to me, Tony, you know, I'd said this when we had PK Subban on. The series I'm obsessed with is Los Angeles-Edmonton, which played out behind me across the street in Game 5. Look, the Kings have the best home ice record in the NHL. So to get that game, to get that critical game and get Edmonton control of that series after they were down again, only down 1-0, and they have to win these games late, and they had to win it in the third. It wasn't a huge explosion of goals like they've had in a couple of other games. But Edmonton to wrestle control back, and they're the Western Conference champs, I think that was the big result of the night.
I'm going to leave that to you. I'll agree with everything you said. I was tempted to say Carolina because it was a double overtime situation, but they won the series 4-1, and 3 of their 4 wins were by multiple goals. I'm going to stay away from the Minnesota-Vegas thing because that's going to go 7. And the compelling thing is going to happen in Game 7, and we're going to look back. You know, so I'm going to go with Toronto losing because they didn't just lose, Mike. They were at home. They got blanked. Yeah. They got blanked at home, and they have had such terrible playoff results. And let me give you some numbers that are amazing. They are now 1-13 in their last 14 series-clinching opportunities. 1-13. They're 0-6 at home in series-clinching opportunities. Why would you have faith in them now? You know, when you say, well, they're better than Ottawa because they finished second and Ottawa finished sixth. But I was told this morning Ottawa won that season series 3-0. So that's a dicey series right now. That's the one I would concentrate on. Let's take a break. Coming up, should J.J. Redick stick with the same five that some say he overplayed in Game 4? And we will ask Kendrick Perkins.
We'll also ask him whether the Rockets could do anything different tonight to stay alive against the Dubs. Connor McDavid only had 2 shots last night. He had an assist on an empty netter late, but he was non-factor, and Edmonton still won that game.
Let's get back into the NBA playoffs with our great friend from NBA Today, Mr. Kendrick Perkins. And let's start with this. Minnesota can close out the Lakers tonight. That's a 3-2 situation. Do you think that J.J. Redick should stick with the 5 players he played for the entire second half in Game 4?
Hell no. And if he tries that again, Tony, he's going to lose Game 5. Right? The physicality, especially when it comes down to LeBron James, who is 40 years old, who's going to be eligible for his pension at 5 years, is playing the center position. You're down there in the trenches, and he's battling Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle, who is playing physical basketball. Naz Reid is too much on Braun. And so I'm not making any excuses. I'm just giving you the real. When you're down there wrestling with those big fellas, it take a lot out of you. Bring in the Jared Vanderbilt, who is 6'9", 6'10", high motor guy that could get you some defensive stops and some rebounds. Bring in the Gabe Vincent to relieve Luka at times when you know that Gabe Vincent is proven. He went to the NBA Finals with Eric Spoelstra in the Miami Heat. Key part of it, if JJ don't trust the others on the bench, he's going to lose this game tonight. But if he go and he trusts those guys and give those guys an opportunity and some minutes and give Luka and Braun some rest, then I see this going to Game 6 headed back to Minnesota.
He's persuaded me. Perk has persuaded me, Tony. We're going to move out, though, to this other series, which Perk is intimately familiar with, those Houston Rockets. Perk, the Rockets could be eliminated, of course, as you know, tonight. Is there something, though, these games have been so close and they could have won the last one. Is there something the Rockets could be doing or should be doing that they're not?
Well, it's hard because coming into the series, one of the reasons I picked Golden State was because, one, they have the best player in the series in Steph Curry. 2, the Rockets' Achilles heel all season long is that they can't shoot the damn basketball. They ranked 25th in the league this season in 3-pointers made, right? And so all of a sudden you're asking a team to go out there and make shots that's under pressure. Right now at home, we know role players are going to play better at home. We saw Tari Eason knock down a couple of threes in Game 2. Hopefully Jalen Green could find himself, or he better find himself, because he's auditioning. Right? He's auditioning to show the Rockets that he actually could go toe-to-toe when it matters the most and be a closer for them. Otherwise, he's going to be part of that trade if Kevin Durant decides to come to Houston. So when I'm looking at the Rockets right now, I'm saying, we know y'all have a culture and identity defensively. Y'all going to compete. We know that. But who's going to be the closer when it matters the most, when it's a possession by possession? I'm looking at the Rockets and I'm looking at the others to make shots at home and get energy from the home crowd. I think they're going to even up this series tonight, heading back to Golden State.
Can't wait to see a big intrigue tonight, Perk. There's no real intrigue so far in what has faced the Celtics and the Cavaliers, who just, pushed their way through their first-round series, respectively. Anything you see from either one of those teams change your mind, inform you differently, get you thinking something you might not have been thinking when the playoffs started? Anything from one of those two?
Yeah, it does, Wilborn. And look, let me tell you, at first I had the Celtics, and I'm still giving a slight edge to the Celtics to come out of the East. But because they're dealing with so many injuries, right? Jaylen Brown with his knee, Jason Tatum with his wrist, although he's still been balling. And I don't know what's going on with Drew Holiday, right? I don't know if it's fatigue from playing in the Olympics or whatever the case may be. The Cavs look healthy. Damn it, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, what they're doing defensively is scary as hell. Being able to switch 1 through 5, anchor that defense, protect the basket. Miami just didn't suck. It's just the Cavs defense are that damn good because of those two guys. And then you add in a sprinkle of DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome off the bench. That is scary. That game, listen, if they was to happen to match up, it is going 7 games. And I had the margin, it was a big separation there at first, but I would say the Cleveland Cavaliers have closed the gap.
Wilbon, how about that? Perk coming around to my point of view on the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm happy for that. We'll get you out of here on this. We've got to talk about this because this was bizarre last night. Tyrese Halliburton's father got into it with Giannis Antetokounmpo last night after the game. Is there some sort of code that family members are supposed to adhere to?
I played 14 years in the league, Tony. I wish my wife or any of my family members would have tried that nonsense. They would have been banned from coming to any games for the rest of my career. Matter of fact, I'm going to go deeper. I believe that Tyrese Halliburton's father should be suspended for the rest of the postseason. At some point, you gotta make an example, and he has to be the example. Nowhere in hell he should be allowed to walk on the floor and go get up into Giannis Antetokounmpo's face and do what he did last night. Just sit back from afar and praise him and just be a proud dad in the stands. And this is a prime example what some fathers go through. And you know this, Wilborn. When you go to AAU games, I do the same thing. They have certain parents who are living their dreams through their children. And this was one of the prime examples that we witnessed last night.
Thank you.
Right on,
Couldn't
Perk.
have said it
Well
better.
said.
Couldn't have
Well
said it better ourselves. Thank you, Perk. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank y'all, legends.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, Jaren Duran turns a potential disaster into an iconic catch.
And the NFL issues punishments to address the prank call made to Shedeur Sanders during the draft. So weird. Perk
Another
is so
family
right.
member.
So right.
That's another family member on the Shedeur Sanders score.
That's right. Yeah.
Cannot have.
Honestly.
Happy time, people. Happy belated 78th birthday, Johnny Miller. This was yesterday. Although Miller is no longer on golf telecasts, the U.S. Open is being played this year at Oakmont. And it was at Oakmont where Miller shot 63 on Sunday in 1973 to win the U.S. Open in what many consider to be the greatest closing round ever played in a major. Miller won one other major, the 1976 British Open at Royal Birkdale. In the same way that golfers like Ernie Els and Vijay Singh and Phil Mickelson were thwarted sometimes by playing against Tiger, Miller drew the short straw playing against Jack Nicklaus. Miller was also a frequent guest on this high-quality cable program.
Tony, when you think back historically, going against Jack Nicklaus just week after week after week, I mean, how are you going to win in that? How are you going to feel in that? 90% of those weeks, not great.
Not so happy anniversary David Cone on this day 35 years ago while pitching for the Mets. Cone covered first base on a throw from second baseman Greg Jeffries that should have retired the batter Mark Lemke. Umpire Charlie Williams mistakenly ruled Lemke safe. Thinking the time had been called, Cone argued with Williams. Cone held the ball as two Braves runners scored. Cone has far more good memories than bad: 5 World Series rings, 5 All-Star appearances, a Cy Young, a perfect game. But this one may cause him some embarrassment. You can see Cone on Sunday Night Baseball and on the Yes Network.
Yeah, to come as it did against the Yankees, I don't even know about embarrassment. His career was too great. It would cause me anger. I'd want to go out and drill somebody with a 95-mile-per-hour fastball.
You can throw 95? You?
No.
Really? Happy trails to extra bases for Jaren Duran. In the top of the 4th inning of last night's game in Toronto, Duran hit a deep drive to center. Dalton Varsho tripped and fell while tracking the ball, then got up on one knee and made a backhanded catch. Varsho said, quote, "I said a profanity word, but then I was like, okay, where's the ball? I saw it really quick and kind of stuck my glove out," unquote. It was the Gold Glover Varsho's first game of the season after missing the first 28 while recovering from off-season shoulder surgery.
Man, that's some quicks right there. That's the proper reaction to have. He's the son of a guy named Gary Varsho, Tony, who played early in his career, at least with the Cubs. And my memory, if it serves me correctly, remembers that Harry Carey just used to love saying the name Gary Varsho, but, that was Harry. Good to see his son.
He's also named after his dad's teammate, Darren Dalton. That's how he got the name Dalton.
Pretty good.
Right? Did you know that?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. I did not know that until now.
It's in the notes, and I can read, so that's what I did. Let's go to the big finish if we could. The NFL fined the Falcons $250,000, and defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich $100,000 for the prank call Ulbrich's son made to Shedeur Sanders. Your thoughts?
It just seems totally unnecessary to me. Overly adjudicated. It just what? Head coach Rick Tocchet is leaving the Vancouver Canucks. You surprised?
Not really, because I didn't make the playoffs, but now there are 8 openings for head coaches in the NHL. 8.
Wow, that's a lot.
The Steinline reports that Steve Nash is not interested in being the next head coach of the Suns. Your reaction?
That's what we've heard, that he was never really interested, and he's going to join Amazon instead, and I totally get that for Steve Nash. The Suns aren't going to be good for a while. They're not. 3 NHL games tonight. Pick some winners, Tone.
Not picking some, picking one. Caps. Last one, Stefan Castle
Such a
of the
homer.
Spurs is the NBA Rookie of the Year. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, it is. Risa Shea was second. The second Spurs player in a row, Tony. Wemby and now Castle. The Spurs are coming. If they can be healthy, watch out. Add it to the Western
But I'm a
Conference
homer
melee.
because I root for the Cubs, and I root for the Bears, and I root for the Bulls and the
You're not
Blacks.
even
I'm
from
a
there.
homer. We're out
Adopted
of time.
front runner.
Try and
That's
do
what
better
you
the
are.
next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike
homer.
Wilbon. Same time tomorrow.
Really?
You can get the podcast on the Apple Podcast. Shout out to Chris Mullen, Ed Pinkney, and Gary Payton.